Hello, everybody. This is Melinda. I'm the host of this WYN conferences. This is day two WYN Croatia Summit 2022. Yesterday, with your support and your presentations, yeah, we really had a very good event. So I'm expecting the same to with this day as well. Thank you so much for your continuous support. So this wouldn't be happen without your support. Thank you so much once again. So so we are waiting for Dr. Tori. So just give us 2 minutes. She will join. So if you are interested, you can join the breakout sessions to interact with the speakers, to interact with the other speakers. So if you have any questions, so just being in that message top, our technical team members will help you. Speakers, there will be a breakout sessions as well. So if you are interested to interact with each other, so please join the breakout sessions and please join and you can interact with each other. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us so that our technical team members will help you with. So and after the each speaker presentation, so you can go to this polling tab and you can vote your favorite speaker, so that it is like an encouragement for the speakers. So and yes, Dr. Tori Bowers, she thinks she is coming. So, if you have any questions for the speakers, if you want to ask for questions to the speakers, you can message in the messaging tab, or I can pull you to the front stage as well. So, just raise your hand so that I can pull you to the front stage, so that you can directly ask speakers whatever the questions you have. So yes, and yes, she will join. So before she gets in, so we'll play a audio of the speaker, Dr. Tori Bowers. So yeah, our co-host Sabia, please play the audio. Thank you. Introduce Dr. Tori Bowers. Victoria L. Bowers holds a PhD in clinical psychology and an MA in psychology from Saybrook University. She is a registered psychological assistant in Central Valley, California, where she completed her postdoctoral internship and remains on staff. Doc- I introduce Dr. Tori Bowers. Victoria L. Bowers holds a PhD in clinical psychology and an MA in psychology from Saybrook University. She is a registered psychological assistant in Central Valley, California, where she completed her postdoctoral internship and remains on staff. Dr. Bowers works from an existential humanistic psychology perspective. She has trained in existential humanistic theory, psychodynamic theory, cognitive behavioral therapy, and dialectical behavioral therapy. Dr. Bowers has clinical experience working with serious mental illness, trauma, domestic violence, sexual assault, veterans, emergency responders, homelessness, and treats diverse populations, including families, couples, children, and groups. Dr. Bowers is a member of APA Division 36, the Society for the Psychology of Religion and Spirituality, where she serves as a secretary on the Social Justice Task Force. Dr. Bowers is currently working towards becoming a licensed clinical psychologist and plans to pursue certifications in complex trauma and EMDR. Dr. Bowers is passionate about her clinical work, research, and writing. She constantly strives for personal, spiritual, and personal growth. Dr. Bowers is the happiest when she is in the service of others. This is the introduction of Dr. Tori Bowers.
And now our speaker is Dr. Tori Bowers. Before she joined the session, our co-host Sabia will share the introduction audio of her. Thank you.
I introduce Dr. Tori Bowers. Victoria L. Bowers holds a PhD in clinical psychology and an MA in psychology from Saybrook University. She is a registered psychological assistant in Central Valley, California, where she completed her postdoctoral internship and remains on staff. Dr. Bowers works from an existential humanistic psychology perspective. She has trained in existential humanistic theory, psychodynamic theory, cognitive behavioral therapy, and dialectical behavioral therapy. Dr. Bowers has clinical experience working with serious mental illness, trauma, domestic violence, sexual assault, veterans, emergency responders, homelessness, and treats diverse populations, including families, couples, children, and groups. Dr. Bowers is a member of APA Division 36, the Society for the Psychology of Religion and Spirituality, where she serves as the Secretary on the Social Justice Task Force. Dr. Bowers is currently working towards becoming a licensed clinical psychologist and plans to pursue certifications in complex trauma and EMDR. Dr. Bowers is passionate about her clinical work, research, and writing. She constantly strives for personal, spiritual, and personal growth. Dr. Bowers is the happiest when she is in the service of others. This is the introduction of Dr. Tori Bowers.
Hello, everybody. This is Melinda. I'm the host of this WYN conferences. Just give us 2 minutes, and before that, if you want to join the breakout sessions and if you want to interact with the speakers to know each other, so you can go to you can use the breakout sessions and you can interact with each other. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you have any questions related to the videos or anything, you can contact us at the contact at the redwinconferences.com. And if you have any questions related to the airmeet, if you are not able to log in, or if you have any issue with presenting your PDF, just message in the messages tab so that our technical team member will help you with it. Thank you so much. Just bear with us for 2 minutes. If not, we will jump into the another speaker. Thank you. Thank you so much for your patience. Sorry for the trouble. Speaker will join in within 5 minutes. So please bear with us. Thank you so much for understanding.
Hours. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see you, Dr. Tori Bowers.
Okay. I'm not very technically savvy, so audio is the best I can do. Hopefully you can see my picture. That's what I look like on a good day with Photoshop. Um, but but
Yes.
I wanted to focus on the material and what I have to share. Um, my mentor, Dr. Paul Wong, and I have began a journey in research in self transcendence. So let me just first give you a definition of what self transcendence is. Um, we began by researching happiness and what is happiness, and we found that basically happiness is being able to find joy in spite of suffering. And the very first psychologist that studied finding joy and happiness, and through suffering or during suffering, was Viktor Frankl. And he was a psychologist who was in the internment camps in World War II and was able to survive and find his own meaning or purpose in life, as well as find ways to have joy in spite of suffering. And so Dr. Wong has studied his work, and along with many other psychologists, he's very senior to me. I respect him very much, and he bases his work off of Frankl and other psychologists, including Abraham Maslow. And Maslow, as many of you have probably heard of, developed the hierarchy of needs, where we go from our basic needs being met, such as safety, and it's like a staircase or a triangle up to the top. So once we meet our basic needs of safety, love, belonging, um, we get to the top where we're looking for happiness or joy. And he called it self actualization. So if I had a PowerPoint, which I wish I was able to upload it, um, self transcendence would be our research, which would be up there with self actualization. So that's the closest representation that there is as far as a figure. So in our research, we have developed our own models. And in a book chapter that we wrote, I actually researched transpersonal psychology and happiness and self transcendence. I base this off of Lewis Hoffman and Paul Wong, and we came up with a model of mature happiness, which means the ability to find joy during suffering and the ability to overcome suffering and find joy. So, the key piece that I may not have said is, to overcome suffering, we do have to have some kind of purpose. Or some way to make meaning. So, in my clinical work, I always encourage helping my clients find ways to make meaning in their lives. Some clients may do this by finding closure for grief or sorrow or loss, death or dying. Some people may find meaning in the pursuit of a new dream, which I love C.S. Lewis, how he said, "You're never too old to pursue another dream or another adventure." I've had clients return to school or work or find meaning in new relationships with friends, colleagues, partners. But either way, what ends up happening is when we go on the path to find meaning or make meaning, if we don't have meaning, we have to figure out, what does meaning mean? And it's easy to say make meaning, but then people begin the search for their higher power, which some people believe in God or Christ or both. Some people believe in the Holy Spirit. Some people believe in the universe and the power of positive energy. And some people believe in nature. I personally believe in all of it. I believe that if we have a higher power that's bigger than us, even if it's our actual Father in heaven, who's our angel, or whatever we give to ourselves to give us something above us, that can be our higher power. So in clinical work, it's important to help a client find meaning and purpose and to find their higher power. This can help people overcome addiction or hardship or suffering. And once we establish what that is for an individual, whether it's a client, a friend, or a colleague, then we can establish, okay, now you understand what meaning making is to you. And And just to be honest, some people it's crafts, some people it's, sewing blankets or, you know, painting or writing. It's whatever their truth is that gives them that feeling of purpose and empowerment. So my research is a lot more technical, um, to give you the basis and the foundation, for what transformative spiritual change is and what the definition of self transcendence is. Because Maslow already covered all of those things I've mentioned. But what's on the very top of the triangle that my colleagues and I have found in international research started with a book chapter that is in a book called Scientific Concepts Behind Happiness, Kindness, and Empathy in Contemporary Society. The editor is Novice Silton, and this was published in 2018, which is before I graduated. And just to kind of go over self transcendence from the very initial research that I did, let me go ahead and reference my chapter, which is transpersonal psychology, and this is when I personally discovered self transcendence and what it is. So, this chapter is amazing. Dr. Wong gives a recollection of his experience in Chinese culture, his life experience with suffering, which he has lived a lot longer than I have, and he does have more experience and more knowledge. But what I researched was transpersonal psychology. It is defined as spiritual psychology, and we base this off of Eastern and Western culture because we wanted to make sure that no matter what people believe, even if there is no God, or they don't have a higher power, that they could find something. And so there's a lot of connection between Buddhism and Christianity, and all the religions of the world do have a higher power. So we took Eastern, Western culture, religion, and spirituality, which is separate, and we took spirituality and just that piece, and we tried to find meaning, purpose, and well being. So, transpersonal psychology can be defined as spiritual psychology, based on Eastern psychology. And the definition of this is experiences in which the sense of identity or self extends beyond the individual or personal to encompass wider aspects of humankind, life, psyche, or cosmos. So let me just explain that again. Spirituality and transpersonal psychology or self transcendence is when the self extends beyond, which is the word trans, beyond the individual or personal to encompass wider aspects of humankind, life, psyche, or cosmos. So, this is a way to evolve into our highest self. So, not only to reach this point do we need to be self actualized, but we need to transcend some of the difficulties in life. And in my latest research, which I don't think is published, I've been working on global spiritual transformation. But it basically, to transform anything, we have to focus on individual people because everyone's different and unique, and we understand that there's different cultures, there's different ways of living, there's different ways of being, there's different socioeconomic classes, there's different political preferences, there's different ideologies, and then when we add the hardships of life in general or life experience, then we have trauma, we have mental health problems, we let me just go ahead and explain that there is a spiritual calling for the world to transcend inequity or inequality, hatred, violence, war, and suffering. And so, my new research is a powerful call for people to contribute to a spiritual revolution for the highest level of well being for humanity. And so, what we're seeing in the world today is large amounts of suffering. We're seeing war or world war, whatever you want to call it, conflicts around the world, anger, hatred, violence. And so on the micro level or the basic level, we can't individually stop what's happening because there's so many revolving parts, there's so many individual parts or micro parts that are happening that one person, even for example, I'm from the United States, even the president with the entire White House and everybody can't stop what's happening around the world as far as violence. I'm sure that there's lots of people that would prefer peace. I know I would prefer peace, but there's also lots of people that are going to fight for what they believe and what is their higher power or their purpose. So sometimes, even though we advocate for peace, we can't make it happen, right? We can only find peace within ourselves. So in the future, my hope is that we can find a call as human beings, not people in different countries or people of different classes or races, that we can find a call to contribute to a spiritual revolution for the highest level of well being for humanity. And my psychological perspective is existential humanistic. So basically, what I've explained is an existential humanistic perspective on ultimate happiness and joy. But this would have to begin on an individual level. So to transcend suffering and pain, violence, trauma, mental health challenges, physical or mental disabilities, and the other types of problems we see in the world, we would need to learn spiritual growth. We would need to accept that we want to grow as individuals, and we would have to set out on a personal journey for spiritual transformative growth. And this is what self transcendence means to me. There are other researchers that give different definitions. But I think the definition that I gave earlier is important. When we seek out the transcendental or self transcendence, we are able to perceive the world with more sensitivity, clarity, and compassion. It gives people the ability to feel whole and in unity with existence, nature, and the cosmos. It instills hope in the face of darkness and becomes a guiding light of love. And love really is the answer. I mean, if you listen to music or, you read, everybody wants someone to love them. They want belonging. They want meaning and purpose. So when we fill our own heart and soul with love, we can become that light for other people. And self transcendence, not on a religious perspective, but just on a recognition that we have a spirit as individual human beings. It can instill hope in the face of darkness, and it can become a guiding light for other people, which means that when we reach this point in our personal journey or in our spiritual journey or in our search just to find meaning in our own lives after we've lost someone we've loved or we've seen or witnessed some horrible event, um, we can find peace of mind. We can learn to be present. We can use mindfulness, which I'm huge on mindfulness. In my clinical work, I make a point to teach people the basics of how to breathe and how to be mindful, because these basic things can help us to achieve personal and spiritual growth. And we can actually learn to sacrifice and what sacrifice means. And we can learn to give service to others, whether that's in our profession, whether it's in our personal life or in our own homes with our own families. We can find meaning and purpose through service. And that would be, in my opinion, the best way to find meaning, at least in my own life. Let me just share I've had some personal challenges myself with depression, anxiety, grief, loss, other things. I've witnessed the wars going on for the last 40 years. Um, and what I've found is that if I can serve other people in any capacity, whether it's in my clinical work or with my writing or in my own home with my children, my husband, or extended family, I can find purpose that way. Um, and that purpose is what allows me to make new meaning. And so when we build a foundation of meaning making, or if we want to parallel that to Viktor Frankl, Paul Wong, and anyone else I've mentioned, Maslow, or Lewis Hoffman, we can go into a ladder here, where we're looking at Maslow's triangle, which you can Google if you want to see a picture. Abraham Maslow, and they've recently changed the triangle to include self transcendence at the top because of my colleagues and my research. So, the cultivation of self transcendence is key to transforming society and leading people or humanity to a greater understanding, knowledge, resilience, love, compassion, and lasting happiness or mature happiness. Um, Lasting happiness is the definition that the Dalai Lama, Gandhi, some of the great religious leaders of the world have used. And we've just helped cultivate a path in our research towards this. So I do have a new publication coming out with Dr. Wong. I'm happy to post it once it is published, so that you can reference it, or it will be on my academia.edu page. I do have most of my publications on academia.edu. And this is relevant to existential humanistic psychology, based off of Paul Wong and Abraham Maslow. They delivered the theory of self actualization, whose work became the beginning of our understanding of self transcendence. And self actualization and self transcendence is key to the hierarchy of needs, which again is physiological safety, love and belonging, esteem, self actualization. And we built on top of that self transcendence, which leads to more effective problem solving. When we find ourselves or search for who we are as an individual, we start understanding ourselves and we can make sense of the world around us. We can understand suffering. We can become better problem solvers. We can learn to be more creative. We can gain more clarity and a greater depth of knowledge. We can gain a ability to endure difficulties and hardships. We can find profound understandings and heightened joy. So I don't want to take up all the time, and I'm not sure how much time I have, but I'd like to leave with just a simple prayer, for all of us, that we can find peace in our own lives, through whatever coping strategies or ways to make meaning in our own life, and that we can stay open hearted, together as human beings, that we can help each other cultivate peace, and battle suffering and violence around us, and in our cultures, so that we can be a world that accepts differences, recognizes culture, but is able to outlast some of the problems that we're seeing in the world today, so that we can become a peaceful society, with individual differences, where we're on a higher level of well-being, for humanity, and the earth. And there's many causes that we could fight for as individuals, whether it's ecological, psychological, or physical. But I think what we need to start with is fighting for ourselves. We need to gain more sensitivity for other people. We need to learn to have clarity in our own minds. And not only do we need to learn compassion for other living beings, but we need to have compassion for ourselves. So I definitely want to say that I'm not an expert, but I do know that I do have to always remind myself to have self compassion. I have to remind myself daily to be present, and I have to practice mindfulness daily just to have the clarity of thought that I need to write or research such powerful things. And I hope that on some level, you may have felt the spirit of peace or God or whatever your higher power is as I've spoken, and that we can pray together to have peace of mind today as you listen to other speakers, and that you can find clarity of thought. And that I can have the same. And I leave these things with you. To possibly begin your own journey or further the research in um, spiritual intelligence and self transcendence. And thank you very much for being here. And I appreciate your time. I'm grateful for all of you. I can't see you, but I'm grateful that you're there. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tori Bowers. It's really a great information you have shared with the WYN. So here we have a question from our audience. Here is the question. So what is mindful self-reflection?
I think that would be um, mindfulness. There's so many people that teach mindfulness. Let me think of a basic way to explain. Um, it would be being mindful of what our needs are. I know personally when I'm spiritual and I practice prayer, meditation, or I exercise, or I just stop to pause and take deep breaths and relieve myself of any anxiety I may be experiencing, that I become more aware of what's happening in my body and my mind. I become more aware of what I need as far as nutrition. Do I need more water? Am I hungry? Do I need more rest? Do I need more exercise? And I come up with a plan, for that moment in time or that day. What can I accomplish today? Is it okay if I just maybe do some basic things to get through my day? Or do I have a busy day where I have a lot to do? It's just an understanding of ourselves. And then if I can take care of myself and be self-compassionate and mindful, then I might be able to take care of somebody else, whether it's maybe a family member who's suffering. For example, my mother has cancer right now, so I'm mindful of her needing rest and her agitation from uh, her suffering. What can I do as far as taking care of her needs? But it's like that. I think it's that saying that a lot of people use, we can't pour from an empty cup. And trust me, as a clinician who's had hundreds of patients in the last decade, I have tried to pour from an empty cup and it doesn't work. You have to pour from a cup that's full. So we have to prioritize ourselves and make sure that our body and minds are fed and taken care of. And then we can extend outward towards helping other people. And I guess that would be the best definition I could give for that.
That is a great definition. That is the great
Okay.
information. Thank you so much, Dr. Tori Bowers. Thank you so much for being a part of this WYN conferences as a speaker. So, and have a great day. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
So let's jump into the another speaker.